it's Lyndall with Watery Wishes, and it's been a while, but I have a video up for today, and it is the unboxing of the Simon Says Stamp February card kit, which I got a few days ago. I taped this on the 28th Australia time and Australia Eastern Coast time, and I am recording this and doing the voiceover on the 2nd. So you get the unicorn glitter, I think it is, and the ultra fine white embossing powder. It's actually called unicorn dust glitter and clear fine detail embossing powder, and we get these absolutely stunning vintage 6x6 papers. Authentic romance, it says on the sheet here. 8 double-sided sheets. They really are stunning, and they're really smooth. Like, they're just really nice to touch and feel. I know I sound weird saying that, but it's true. And then we get this 6x6 rose lettuce background stamp. You get some pre-scored black Simon Says cards. You get the 8x6 stamp set called Love Always. You get some cardstock from Simon Says Stamp in doll pink, cotton candy and ivory, and you get the Nina Desert Storm in 80 pound. And I really love the Simon Says Stamp pink cardstock. It's really lovely, especially the cotton candy. Okay, so you also get this So Easy floss from We Are Memory Keepers. You get 3 metallic envelopes in, I'm not sure what the colours are. Cotton candy, silver and ivory. So you get the envelopes, you get the 4 pieces of cardstock, 3 Simon Says Stamp cardstocks and 1 Nia. You get the So Easy floss, you get the patterned papers that are here. I'm trying to see if they'll go around like napkins, but they won't, so I have to pull them all out. And I really just love the patterns on these. They're really great. And while I'm unlikely to use them for an actual card, I'll probably use them for an art journal, because they've got that really nice antique sort of look about them, which I've sort of been gravitating to lately in my art journal pieces. You get the 6x8 clear stamp set and the 6x6 rose lettuce background stamp as well in red rubber. There are those envelopes in ivory, cotton candy and silver. The unicorn dust, which my camera's not going to focus. I was taking photos for university art pieces, and I've played around with my settings, so it's not focusing properly. So you get the unicorn dust and the ultra fine embossing powder, the pre-scored cards, and I think I already mentioned the floss, and that's the card. That's the card kit, sorry. So I didn't film me using this background stamp on some Nina Solar White, but I used the gold embossing powder from a previous Simon Says Stamp card kit, and now I'm using a tonic stencil brush to brush on some worn lipstick oxide ink. And the reason I went with the stencil brush is because I'm trying to slowly build up the colour, but I'm trying to get a bit of an ombre look. So it goes from light on one corner to really dark on the other corner. And the best way to do that is to use something that is a little bit lighter of a touch than the Tim Holtz blending foams or the blending tools. And I don't have the picket fence brushes, which I would love to get my hands on, but I can't afford them just yet, so that will wait. So here I'm just cutting down the cardstock a bit off each side, because when you blend onto cardstock, you'll notice you get like right on the edges, it's really dark. So here I'm taking a little bit off each side, so that it is 4 by 5 1/4. Now, this card was sort of a nightmare, and I'm actually going to show you all of the things I did wrong. There was a technique in there that actually worked, but didn't work because I screwed stuff up on the card. But I'm showing you guys because I don't want to give the impression to people that watch me that I just jump in and everything turns out perfect every time, because it doesn't. So the first idea I had was to heat emboss some of the floral stamps, or a floral stamp, on some vellum. And I decided that I was going to have a vellum strip, and I was going to black heat emboss that image onto some additional vellum, and I was going to cover it completely with some score tape. Now, the thing about when you cover a piece of vellum with score tape is if you cover the whole thing, you don't notice the adhesive because it all looks the same. There are no adhesive splotches or anything. But it does hamper the opacity of the vellum, and especially with the heavier vellum. And I end up not using this anyway, but the technique is still valid. So you guys can try that if you guys have time to, or an inclination to cut out vellum pieces on your card. It's a good trick to know. So I get score tape out, and it doesn't quite fit the whole thing. There's like just a couple of little bits and pieces outside, and I fussy cut it out right alongside of the heat embossing. Now, there we go. I didn't make you watch all my fussy cutting. So now I'm going to get this piece of vellum, and I'm trying to measure it up on my glass mat so I know exactly where to fold it. But those tiny little bits hanging over the edge are so tiny. They're really hard to get up. And I'm using my bone folder to crease them down. Then I'm going to stick them on with some score tape. And the card is sort of going well by now, but it is about to take a drastic turn for the worse. So I felt that I needed some black because I was going to be putting it on a black background, and it might have worked with a larger flower image and a little bit more towards the center of the card, not right on the edge, which is what I end up doing. And it's score tape, and you cannot get it back up. Once it is down, it is down. And it's just wrong. And I can't find anything to, like, none of the sentiments that I was looking for were particularly right to go in that space. So I decide that I'm going to take a little bit of black cardstock and I'm going to trim a rectangle that's almost a square out of it. And here I'm just shoring up the edges to make sure that they're all at right angles. And I'm going to get the gold embossing powder out and I'm going to get the edges of that panel. I don't know if I do that before or after I cut off the vellum, and then before. Okay, so I'm just rubbing the edges of that cardstock against the Simon Says stamp embossing pad. And as you can see, I haven't used my powder tool. I'm so out of practice. I've been so busy with university because I'm reaching the last units of my course, and they're rather rigorous units, and it's sort of taking a lot of my time. So my card making is sort of taking a bit of a back seat until I'm finished, and I should be finished in just under 3 months time, hopefully, if I don't fail the last unit, one of the last units I did, and have to retake it. So here is where I decide I'm going to cut that vellum off, and then I've got to pick the bits out from underneath the panel. Because they're slightly showing and they're annoying me, so I rip those little bits out. A little bit of the cardstock comes with it, but not much. You don't notice it. So, as you can see, I love crafting on a messy desk. I don't actually, it just happens. I'm pretty sure I'm not the only one, and I'm pretty sure a lot of you can identify with this cluster of things on my work surface. Now I'm just putting a little bit of Tombow underneath where I took the bit of vellum up. And this is where it actually starts to come better and turns from an absolute disaster into something that actually looks really quite elegant and nice. So surprise, surprise, I was able to save the day. But I definitely felt like I had to show you guys how disastrous it sort of got for me, because I used to think it when I used to watch these card making videos of people making cards and they're all perfect. I used to think, oh my god, they never make mistakes. But it really isn't true. And a lot of crafters, they pre-make their cards before they do it again for camera. Some of them plan them out on paper, and some of them just fly by the seat of their pants like me and make mistakes. And sometimes we cut it out for time factors. We don't want to make the video go for 30 minutes and half of it is a mistake. So I won't be doing it all the time, but I think it's definitely helpful to show you guys that it's not all sun and rainbows and perfect. It's sometimes you get an idea and it doesn't work, and if you just sort of stop, take a break, think about it, think about what you can do to change it or fix it, most times, more often than not, it can be fixed. So, but I mean, there is going to be those times where, you know, it's unfixable. But a lot of the time, if you just stop, take a breath, get your bearings again, and just, even if you have to walk away for a half an hour and come back to it, or even overnight, usually you can find a way to fix a project that's gone off the rails. So my blade on my cutter is getting blunt. My other little tonic trimmer, it's never really cut straight properly because the screw holders broke out of it, so the blade, in the middle of the blade where there's supposed to be a screw, there isn't one. And yeah, so sometimes I fight with my trimmers, and see, I haven't even got that lined up straight, so now I've got a wonky piece of black cardstock which I have to fix. So this card was just full of mistakes and things that were just going wrong. And I still have to end up cutting off bits of it because it didn't cut all the way through on one end. So now that I've finally found what I wanted to do with the card, and because I'm lazy and I'm over it, I don't even cut the cardstock down to fit the panel properly. So I sit it on one end so that it is flush against the inner panel, and then I get a Stanley knife out, or a box cutter or a craft knife, whatever you have would work well. We call them Stanley knives in Australia, but you probably call them different things where you live. So, but it's a retractable knife. And I didn't want to cut too deep with it, so I sort of scored in it a bit with the knife and cut the rest with my cutter bee scissors. And then I can place the sentiment on the front, and it actually looks good. So I was actually pleased with how it turned out, considering how many problems I had with it. So now I just have to cut a bit of that cotton candy cardstock and paste that inside the card so that it can be written on. So here we go with my untrusty trimmer, and I've cut it down a little bit smaller than the card base. And I just fit it inside. So there's the finished card, made all but completely with the kit except for the gold embossing powder and the Distress Oxide ink. So thanks for watching. Sorry it's been a while. If you like the video, hit that like button. If you disliked the video, hit dislike button. I would love it if you subscribed, and as always, don't forget to have fun crafting your imagination. Bye.